Hey guys, welcome back to the TohirT channel. Tahir is here. I hope everyone had a fantastic week as always. Another week passed by. It's already December. That's it. Winter is here. 2018 is on its finish line. I'm wearing red not to commemorate Christmas. Formula One, it was the end of the season. We're done with 2018 season, but that's not what we're gonna talk about. In today's video, we're gonna talk about mad scientific experiments. The blood will be drawn, the genes will be spliced, the family trees will be burned and rebuilt again. Well, who am I kidding? I just spit in the tube and sent out my saliva sample to some laboratory out in the United States. Yes, we are talking about my experience with the genetic testing services, and in this case, in particular, 23andMe. Here is a quick snippet of the video that I shot right before sending out that sample. Amazon had sale on these DNA kits from 23andMe, and we figured we might as well go and find out what interesting things lie in our DNA. And we'll see what are the unique things and the new things that I've learned versus what are the things that were just confirmed from all those rumors and speculations that circulate within my family. I'll see you guys in a few weeks. Now, let's get a few disclaimers out of the way because the gene testing market is still not without its own controversies. Number one, I'm completely gonna ignore the medical side of things. 23andMe offers the health assessment, but between the FDA, the scientific community, the self-reported data, the data bias towards predominantly European or white population, it's very hard to dissect how accurate the data that they provide around different traits, different kind of disease predominance and things like that. So we're gonna completely ignore it. My advice to you is save money, do not spend extra on getting that health report and just focus on the ancestry reporting for now while they're trying to figure out between the FDA, the scientists and everyone else out there how to accurately predict some of those genetic traits in our body. But if you already spend money on it, that's fine. Don't take that report too seriously. That's all that I have to say for you. And FDA that I referred to a couple of times, it's Food and Drug Administration, the governmental body here in the United States that essentially controls everything that we put in our body, or almost everything that we put in our body. Second disclaimer, the ancestry report that you will receive is really based on the population of data that they've collected, some of the prior research that they did, and the sampling. The downside of that kind of report is essentially lack of precision, and especially if you do belong to some sort of unique tribe or maybe a very small ethnic group, chances are they will not detect it, or if they will, it's gonna be not as precise as it should have been in the first place. But the upside of it is, at this current state of things in 2018, with the amount of people who've purchased the reports from 23andMe, their sample of data is so large and the data precision increased by so much compared to the original reports that people used to receive a couple of years ago that you are going to receive pretty good data. This is based on my personal experience that I'm going to talk about next. Finally, the latest controversy that came up this year is they are selling your data. I mean, come on. We do know about multiple companies out there who make their entire business model based on selling the data. As one smart person once said, if you get the product for free, well, my friend, I have a news for you. You are the product. Well, 23andMe does charge us up front for the kit, as well as they go and monetize our data. And to be honest, it doesn't really bother me. Hear me out on this one. The reason why it doesn't bother me is because I understand the medical field, the development of the drugs is purely based on the data. They need to collect more and more data to understand how different diseases and illnesses develop and how to address them. When my data gets anonymized, it gets connected with my background information and sent over to some medical company to help them develop a drug. It's not necessarily a negative thing. It's not a positive. I'm not getting paid for it, and there's a risk of some sort of the data leak. We've seen those before, but if the data is treated correctly, if it is anonymized, and if it does help the development of the future drug that's going to help thousands and millions of people, I'm all for it. I do agree we should still be cautious with the entire medical field and the data that now everyone gathers from our smartwatches to this kind of services, because we're still figuring things out and there's a lot more debate to have when it comes to the data in the medical field. Done. I apologize, I know it was a lengthy disclaimer, but I think it's important for us as a viewer and the creator to stay on the same page when it comes to talking about slightly controversial topics like that. Well, let's now talk about my actual experience with the service, and I must say, I enjoyed it. Spoiler alert, It was interesting in terms of affirming some of the things that we already knew or suspected about our family ancestry, as well as there were a few new and unique things that I learned about myself and some of my guys who've been traveling all over the world for the last several thousand years. Well, apparently I'm 40+% Scandinavian and European. I'm about 20+% Middle Eastern and Northern African, and I'm about 14% Ashkenazi Jew. Yeah, go figure. This was not the surprising part. My father's branch of the tree is coming from the European, Eastern Europe side of things, going down through Middle East, picking up some Ashkenazi Jew parts, so that's where those 14% of Ashkenazi Jews are coming from, where they eventually met with my mother's side of the family. So the Northern African, the Western Asian, essentially all those countries between the Mediterranean and all the way to the Central Asia, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, all those 10 countries and up to China, they contributed to that part of the gene pool. And by the way, as I was showing it visually from the Europe down through Central Asia, Northern Africa to Central Asia, I think I realized that I'm actually pointing it as I would see the map, so it's flipped for you. Apologies for that. Again, that was not surprising. So Northern European, the Scandinavian, the Northern African, the West Asian, those parts were not surprising at all. The surprising part was the presence of the Mongolian and Southeast Asian ancestry in my DNA result, which I think if you just logically analyze it, it makes sense. We've had a bunch of trade routes, Great Silk Road, between the region where my family eventually settled and China, so I can see how that transplanted from one part to the other. And you know, Mongolian, Genghis Khan, those guys conquered almost half of this continent, so war, great diversifier. Jokes aside, the other surprising part was also the lack of the Greek bloods. That was something that my grandfather always claimed, that we had some representation of the Greek branch, which would again make sense with Alexander the Great taking over the entire region and kind of like, you know, marching with his troops from Macedonia all the way to the Central Asia. But none of that. And minor bonus was to all of those relatives of ours who continuously claimed that we're purely Central Asian. Yeah, there goes that. And the thing that I really got upset about, no English, Scottish, Welsh, Irish bloods at all. And I was hoping to use this test as a claim to one of the castles in that region. I really liked it during my last trip there. Well, on the flip side, I'm now officially enabled through the data, through the DNA data, to represent a very small group of Jewish Vikings from the Middle East. Well, I know I keep jumping between the jokes and the actual data, but at the end of the day, I must say that it was worth the investment. I do not think it's worth paying the full price for this report, because at the end of the day, you do learn some small things about yourself, and most likely you've already known like 75-80% of that. Although for 50 to 60 bucks, I think it is a good investment. I enjoyed what I've learned. I've affirmed some things that I already knew. I discovered some new things about my family tree and some of the relatives, as well as I think I can now go ahead and continue digging into those particular branches and maybe even discovering and rediscovering more interesting stories about my family. At least now directionally and geographically, we know where to look. That must be worth something, although it's gonna be hard to go down that Viking Jewish Middle Eastern part. We need to find a boat. Do you think you can invest in one of those ancestry kits? What are you expecting to learn from those DNA reports? And if not, what is your concern? Please share it with me and all of us down in the comment section below. That's it. That's all that I have for you guys this week. You get a thumbs up from me for this kind of DNA ancestry kits when they do come on sale. And please do let me know if you have any other questions. Hit me up on social media and I'm happy to clarify or talk a little bit more about some of the other things that I discovered in those reports. Other than that, thank you very much for stopping by. If you're new to this channel, go ahead, hit the subscribe button and check out the videos in the backlog. And if you're already a subscriber, thank you very much for coming back. As always, let me know in the comment section below what you thought about this video, and I will see you all next Saturday, 10 a.m. Eastern, on this very channel. Stay positive, stay connected to your ancestry, stay connected to those roots, learn to appreciate and respect the diversity around us, because you are as diverse as me and as a lot of other people around us, and that diversity in the culture and ethnicity, in food. Yeah, we didn't even talk about the different cultural foods and cuisines. Mwah! It all brings a lot of beautiful things in our world. So I'm gonna now, on this point, go and enjoy the last few weeks of 2018, and I'm gonna see you in the next one. Peace!